Have you ever wondered why happiness always feels out of reach, no matter how hard you try? What if the endless chase is the very thing stealing it from you? We live in a world that tells us to pursue joy, success, and pleasure as if they're trophies to be captured. Yet the more we run after them, the further away they seem to drift. This paradox is at the heart of why so many people feel restless, anxious, and unsatisfied. The truth is uncomfortable but liberating. Happiness is not something you chase, it's something you allow. From childhood, most of us are taught that life is a ladder. You climb each rung: good grades, good job, good partner, good house, and at the top waits happiness like a shining prize. But as adults, we discover the ladder keeps going. The next promotion, the next gadget, the next big moment. Each goal reached only reveals another, higher rung. And so the chase never ends. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, the phenomenon where our emotional baseline resets after each achievement, forcing us to seek even bigger highs to feel the same level of satisfaction. The treadmill spins faster, but we never actually get anywhere. This is why chasing happiness can make you miserable. When you see happiness as a destination, every moment that falls short of that destination feels like failure. Your mind becomes obsessed with measuring and comparing. Am I as happy as I should be? Am I happier than others? Did I make the right choice? Instead of living, you're auditing your life like an accountant. This self-surveillance breeds anxiety, and anxiety chokes out joy. You can't taste the present because you're too busy judging it. There's also the hidden pressure of social comparison. We scroll through curated feeds of smiling faces, exotic vacations, and success stories. The message is subtle but powerful. If you're not constantly thrilled, you're doing life wrong. This creates a cycle of shame and inadequacy. You think, everyone else has it figured out, why don't I? But the truth is, many of those smiling faces are just as lost. They're also chasing. They're also tired. The problem isn't you. It's the myth of happiness as a chase. Philosophers have wrestled with this for centuries. The Stoics taught that external events are beyond our control, and true tranquility comes from aligning our desires with reality. The Buddhists taught that craving is the root of suffering and that letting go is the path to peace. Even modern psychology echoes these ancient truths. Studies show that people who focus on meaning, connection, and presence report higher well-being than those who focus purely on pleasure or achievement. In other words, happiness is a byproduct of living in alignment with your values, not a prize at the end of a race. But why is this so hard to accept? Because our culture glorifies control. We're told to hack our minds, optimize our routines, and manifest our desires. We're told that if we just work hard enough or think positively enough, we can engineer a permanent state of bliss. When reality inevitably fails to deliver, we blame ourselves. This self-blame deepens the misery. It's not just that we're unhappy, it's that we think being unhappy is our fault. To step off the treadmill, we need to shift our perspective. Imagine you're holding a butterfly. If you grip it tightly, you crush it. If you hold your hand open, it may land and rest. Happiness is like that butterfly. It visits when you create space, not when you clench your fist. This doesn't mean giving up goals or ambition. It means not tying your sense of worth to the outcomes of those goals. It means learning to savor moments without demanding they make you happy. Consider the difference between pleasure and fulfillment. Pleasure is like sugar, intense but fleeting. Fulfillment is like nourishment, subtle but sustaining. When we chase happiness, we often confuse the two. We binge on experiences, purchases, or validation, hoping for a lasting high. But real well-being comes from depth, not intensity. It's found in meaningful work, authentic relationships, and inner peace. These can be cultivated, but not forced. Another key shift is to embrace negative emotions rather than fear them. Ironically, trying to avoid sadness, anger, or boredom makes them stronger. They become forbidden zones in your psyche. But when you allow them, they move through you and pass. This emotional openness makes room for genuine joy. As psychologist Carl Rogers said, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. The same applies to happiness. When you stop demanding it, you create conditions for it to grow. Think of a time you were unexpectedly happy, a quiet morning, a shared laugh, a moment of awe. Did you plan it? Did you chase it? Or did it arise naturally when you were present? Most people realize that their happiest moments were not scheduled milestones, but spontaneous experiences. This is the hint life gives us. Happiness emerges from presence, not pursuit. Even neuroscience supports this. The brain's reward system lights up not just when we receive a reward, but when we anticipate one. That anticipation can keep us hooked, like a gambler pulling the lever again and again. But the brain's default mode network, associated with rumination and self-referential thinking, quiets down during mindfulness, flow, or deep connection. These states, which are not about chasing, but about being, correlate with increased well-being. So the science agrees with the sages. Stop running and start noticing. All of this may sound abstract, but it has practical implications. You can begin by questioning the stories you tell yourself. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'll be happy when," pause. Ask, "What can I appreciate now? What meaning can I create here?" Gratitude is not just a cliche. It's a neurological reset. It shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. It trains your mind to see what's already present instead of what's missing. You can also practice reframing discomfort. Instead of seeing setbacks as proof of failure, see them as part of the texture of life. Every meaningful path includes pain, uncertainty, and effort. If you accept this, you suffer less. You stop seeing negative emotions as signs you're off track and start seeing them as evidence you're alive. This acceptance paradoxically increases your capacity for joy because you're no longer fighting half of your experience. Finally, cultivate moments of stillness. In our noisy world, stillness is a radical act. Sit without a screen. Walk without a podcast. Breathe without a goal. In these moments, your nervous system resets. You remember you are not just a bundle of cravings and fears, but a conscious being capable of witnessing life. This witnessing itself is deeply satisfying, even if it doesn't feel like fireworks. Over time, it becomes a quiet, steady joy, the kind that can't be chased because it's already here. When you start to see happiness not as a target, but as a climate you cultivate, everything shifts. You no longer approach life as a hunter stalking prey, but as a gardener tending soil. You plant actions aligned with your values, water them with attention, and let results unfold. Some seasons bring flowers, others storms, but your focus stays on the tending, not on demanding. This mindset transforms your relationship with success, relationships, and even your own mind. You stop bargaining with life, "I'll be happy when you give me this," and start partnering with it, moment by moment. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is from seeking to serving. People who orient their lives around contribution, whether through their work, art, or relationships, consistently report deeper well-being than those who focus only on personal gain. This doesn't mean self-neglect. It means recognizing that your life is part of a larger web. When your actions are expressions of care, creativity, or justice, they carry intrinsic meaning. Meaning anchors you when pleasure fluctuates. Meaning is immune to the hedonic treadmill because it's not about intensity. It's about connection and purpose. Another overlooked element of authentic happiness is self-compassion. When you're caught in the chase, your inner critic can become brutal. It whispers, "You're not doing enough, you're falling behind, you're failing." This voice thrives in a culture of constant comparison. Practicing self-compassion is not indulgence, but sanity. It's telling yourself, "I'm human. My worth isn't measured by my mood or my achievements." Studies show that people who treat themselves with kindness after setbacks are more resilient, more motivated, and paradoxically more successful than those who whip themselves with guilt. Self-compassion slows the treadmill. This new approach also reframes ambition. Goals are not abolished. They're liberated from the burden of having to make you happy. You can still strive for growth, mastery, or change, but you hold those goals lightly. You see them as experiments, as expressions of your curiosity and potential, not as conditions for your worth. This shift makes effort more joyful and failure less catastrophic. You can even enjoy the struggle because it's no longer a referendum on your value. Happiness research reveals another clue: experiences over possessions. When we buy things, the pleasure fades quickly. When we engage in meaningful experiences, learning, traveling, volunteering, creating, the memories and skills enrich us long after the moment passes. Experiences also tend to involve other people, and social connection is one of the strongest predictors of long-term well-being. Not superficial networking, but authentic bonds, sharing time, vulnerability, and stories. Humans are wired for connection. Trying to outsource happiness to things instead of people leave a void that no purchase can fill. Ironically, slowing down can also speed up your sense of fulfillment. When you practice mindfulness, meditation, or simply undistracted presence, you stop slicing your day into good and bad parts. You begin to experience even mundane tasks, washing dishes, walking to work, waiting in line, as opportunities to return to yourself. This doesn't magically erase pain or stress, but it dissolves the secondary suffering of resistance. You're no longer running from a moment, so the moment softens. And in that softness, small joys reveal themselves. Another important dimension is gratitude in adversity. It's easy to be grateful when everything goes your way. The deeper practice is to find gratitude even in struggle, not gratitude for the pain itself, but for the growth, empathy, or insight it can produce. This perspective doesn't romanticize hardship. It gives you agency within it. You're not a passive victim of circumstances, but an active participant in meaning-making. Viktor Frankl, who survived concentration camps, wrote that everything can be taken from a person except the freedom to choose one's attitude. That freedom is the seed of unchaseable happiness. Look also at how you talk about your life. Language shapes perception. Instead of "I have to," try "get to." Instead of "I'm behind," try "I'm learning." These small shifts are not gimmicks. They're cognitive openings. They weaken the rigid narratives that trap you in dissatisfaction. When your self-talk becomes more spacious, your experience follows. You stop narrating your life as a failure to reach happiness and start narrating it as an ongoing, unfolding journey. All of this leads to a radical insight. You don't have to feel happy to live a meaningful, satisfying life. Some days you'll feel tired, anxious, or sad. That's not a sign you're failing at life. It's a sign you're alive. When you stop pathologizing normal fluctuations of mood, you reduce the meta-suffering of believing something is wrong with you. Over time, this acceptance creates a stable foundation. Happiness then becomes not a mood spike, but a quiet confidence, a trust in life's rhythm. You can rest in that, even when storms pass through. Imagine waking up tomorrow without the pressure to be happy. Imagine approaching your day not as a hunt, but as an encounter. You drink your coffee, feel the warmth of the mug, notice the light in the room, speak to a friend, work on something that matters. You're not grading these moments. You're living them. Ironically, this is when real joy sneaks in. Not because you forced it, but because you stop forcing it. This is the paradox at the heart of all great wisdom traditions. In letting go, you receive. So the next time you feel the urge to chase happiness, one more purchase, one more milestone, one more hack, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really seeking? What am I unwilling to feel right now? Often, behind the chase is a fear of emptiness, a discomfort with stillness. But emptiness isn't a threat, it's space. Stillness isn't a void, it's where life's deeper qualities arise. When you dare to face that space, you discover you're not missing anything essential. You're already whole enough to meet life as it is. If you integrate these shifts, presence over pursuit, meaning over pleasure, self-compassion over self-criticism, you start to live from a different center. Your nervous system calms. Your relationships deepen. Your work gains authenticity. And yes, you experience more happiness, but as a side effect, not as a chased goal. This happiness is less like fireworks and more like a hearth fire, steady, warm, and enduring. It's the kind of joy that can accompany you through ups and downs because it's woven into how you live, not what you get. Now it's your turn to reflect. Have you noticed how chasing happiness has shaped your own life? What practices or perspectives have helped you step off the treadmill? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And remember, real change starts not with a perfect plan, but with a single decision to see life differently. If this message resonated with you, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more insights on living with depth, clarity, and freedom. Together, we can build a community where happiness is not a prize, but a shared presence.